In a quaint neighborhood where the houses were painted in cheerful pastels, a peculiar sight unfolded one sunny afternoon. A small, waddling figure made its way down the sidewalk, its black and white feathers glistening under the warm sun. Strapped to its back was a tiny cargo bag, bouncing slightly with each determined step. It was none other than Percy the Penguin, the newest delivery service driver in town, and he was on a mission. As Percy approached the front door of the Johnson residence, the neighborhood kids paused their bike rides, their eyes widening in disbelief. "Is that a penguin?" one of them exclaimed, pointing in astonishment. "What's he doing here?" Another kid, with a mischievous grin, replied, "Maybe he's delivering ice cream." Percy, oblivious to the commotion he was causing, reached the doorstep. He paused, his little flippers flapping nervously as he prepared to deliver his first package. With a determined squawk, he leaned forward, his beady eyes focused on the doorbell. He pressed it with his beak, and the sound echoed like a tiny trumpet. Inside, Mrs. Johnson was in the middle of her afternoon tea, blissfully unaware of the feathered delivery driver outside. The doorbell rang again, and she set down her cup, puzzled. Who could that be? She wondered, wiping her hands on a towel. She opened the door, and there stood Percy, looking up at her with an expression that could only be described as earnest. "What in the world?" Mrs. Johnson gasped, her eyes darting from the penguin to the small bag on his back. "Did I just receive a package from a penguin?" Percy, feeling the weight of the moment, puffed out his chest in pride. He attempted to stand tall, but his flippers were not particularly suited for such poses. In his eagerness, he took a step forward and promptly slipped on the welcome mat. With a comical flail, he tumbled onto his back, the cargo bag flipping open as he landed with a soft thud. "Oh, dear!" Mrs. Johnson exclaimed, stifling a laugh as she watched Percy struggle to right himself. The package, now half spilled, had rolled out, revealing a colorful assortment of novelty mugs. One mug, emblazoned with the words, "World's Best Grandma," landed right on Percy's belly, and he looked rather disgruntled. "Looks like you've got quite the delivery system there," Mrs. Johnson chuckled, bending down to help him. As she reached for the mugs, Percy, finally upright, shook off the embarrassment and stood proudly, as if to say, "I meant to do that." With a few more clumsy movements, Percy managed to gather the mugs and, with a triumphant squawk, presented the package to Mrs. Johnson. "Here you go! One delivery from Percy the Penguin," he announced with a flair that would make any delivery driver proud, even if his delivery method was a tad unconventional. Mrs. Johnson couldn't contain her laughter. "Thank you, Percy. You've certainly made my day." She then reached into her pocket and pulled out a small bag of fish treats she had saved for her cat. "How about a little reward for your hard work?" Percy's eyes lit up as he accepted the fish with a grateful nod. He chomped on one, the joy evident in his waddle as he savored the treat. The kids outside erupted into cheers, chanting, "Percy! Percy! The penguin delivery guy!" As he waddled away, the neighborhood buzzed with excitement. Word of Percy's whimsical delivery service spread like wildfire, and soon everyone was clamoring for their packages to arrive by penguin. Who needed drones or delivery trucks when you could have a charming little penguin making your day brighter, one slip at a time? And so, in a world of predictable deliveries, Percy the Penguin became a beloved local legend, proving that sometimes the most delightful surprises come on flippers, not wheels.